Okay, now we're going to go through how to use samples and the wave editor to prepare samples. We're going to do something creative with this today and chop them up and lay it over the top of a drum beat of some sort. So this is really an effective way if you want to just create some simple backing tracks, maybe like if, for an example, on YouTube, you've produced some content and you want to just create some non-invasive sounds. And this is a really good way of going about creating something that's kind of cool and easy to do. So what we're going to do first of all is we're going to load up our sample that we're going to edit in the wave editor. So what I tend to do is just find the sample on my hard drive um, and then just drag and drop it over into Ableton onto a new clip. You can see here I've got it, it's loaded up. If I double click on it, we enter what we call the wave editor. And in here we can do a lot of things. It lets us view the wave, it lets us waveform, it lets us preview the audio, and we can even manipulate the timing of it and set parameters for how the audio is going to play for that clip. So we could do things like change where the start point and the end point are just by grabbing these two locators. And now when I launch this clip in the clip view, it'll only be within this set area of the waveform. What we've got here is a orchestral sample. This is Tchaikovsky, a great composer. And what I like about it is getting the orchestral samples and chopping them up. And you can rediscover old music and just be creative with it. Um, One of the really important functions within the wave editor is this warp tool. Now, what this does is it analyzes the waveform, and you'll find where there's a defined drum beat, it'll actually analyze it and sync it to the tempo that we have set. In this piece, there isn't really a defined drum beat or timing of it. The analysis isn't that great. So what we will do is we'll go in and manually select and identify our bars and beats. And that way we're setting ourselves up for using it for our production. So I'm going to zoom in. Just click and hold up the top where you see the magnifying glass appear, and drag up and down to zoom in. And I'm going to just launch the clip here, maybe just preview. I've got another sample playing. Let's get rid of that for the time being. We'll come back to that. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm just going to get it to start at the very first note. Okay, so start point is now here. Zoom in to get it precise. That wasn't quite precise enough. We'll go back. So we'll get on to bar 6. That's pretty good. All right, what we're going to do is set a locator at that point. So, actually, no, that's a little bit, it's not quite right yet. We're going to set a locator where we feel the song actually starts. I'm going to drag that onto. Now, when we set the locator, we can drag that around. You'll see the waveform is getting stretched out. So what this allows us to do is to manipulate the audio and change the timing of it. So I'm going to stretch that slightly so that the start of the very starting note, very first note starts on the bar. Okay, that wasn't quite right. I'm going to just zoom in a bit more. Oops. Okay, there we go. I'm going to delete that by double clicking on it, and I'm going to drag that back onto the bar. That's better. That's close enough for what we want. Okay. Okay. Right. So now I'll just set the start point to bar 6. There we go. And now we're going to set our endpoint. Now we don't want it to be too long. Like this is a whole orchestral piece that we've got. So we're just going to take a snippet I'm just choosing the start just because you might listen to parts of the music and find other areas that interest you more. Um, so what I find is some nice smooth string playing really can be chopped up into something really creative. Okay, so here we go. Let's try that. Okay, so we heard that phrase start again here. So we got bar 6, so let's count our bars out. So we've got 1, 2, let's go for a 2-bar phrase. Okay, so we've got 6 and bar 7. End of bar 7, we want to stop. All right, now let's try that again. Okay, and then it starts again here. So what we want to do is locate that spot, put a locator on it. Oops, and stop. Oh, whoops. There we go. Okay, so it's there. Right there. Close enough. Now I've got my locator there and I want the whole sample to finish at that point. So I'm going to drag that over to the end of bar 7. Now, our timing should be getting close. It won't be perfect yet. All right, so now if we loop that, we're going to set our loop point, grab our loop locators. So start of bar 6, end of bar 7. So we've got our certain beats that we can hear. So we want them to be on the downbeat. So that point there, I want that to be on the downbeat. So listening out for key points in the sample will really help us identify where we want our downbeats. Yeah, so we want that to be on the downbeat, perhaps at the start of bar 7. Now, I think we need to just change the front start of that sample a little bit. I'm just going to play around with that just to define it. That's better. You can see these grid lines. We've got those hit points there that are working. They're in time. The beginning is still a little bit. Let's just try moving. Ah, that's better. We got it. Yeah. All right. So it's a little bit of playing around with the sample, just using your ears, trying to get it just to sit right. But once you've got it, yeah. Once you've got it sitting where you want it, you're ready to go with the creative part of it. Now, that's getting close enough. All right. So now we are set with our sample, our sample point. We're going to move on to the drum beat. So quickly, we're going to create a drum rack. And I'm going to do something within the vein of a hip hop beat. So here we go, which is fun. Not that one. Oh, that'll do. Okay, so we're going to load that up onto our sample rack, our instrument rack on the right channel. So click on the instrument rack. Let's load that drum rack up. Oh, it's on an audio track. We want a MIDI track. Here we go. And Okay, it'll do. All right, so load that up. Hmm. And now we're ready to write a drum beat. Okay, so I'm just gonna pause any of the other samples. And here we go. All right, so just gonna go kick snare, fairly simple, simple sound. I can put the preview icon on. Yeah, that's a good one. And then snare. I reckon that nice ring to it. Let's have a listen to that sample now. And then we'll put some hi-hats. It's a very simple, basic drum pattern, nothing fancy. All right, so we have a basic drum pattern. I'd highly recommend that you make it longer than the 1 bar length that I've got here to add variation into your performance. Now let's have a listen to it against our sample. So you can now hear that those hit points are pretty much in time. They're not quite right. Take a bit more refining using those locators. But the next step is to look at our wave editor. Not wave editor, our arrange view. So we've got our clip view here. If we go into our arrange view, this is another way of looking at our music. What we can do is take our samples and copy them. So Control C for copy and Control V for paste. And then we find our channel and we can actually paste them in. So here we have, if I switch it on just by clicking this arrow, we have our wave view here. I'm particularly interested in this point here. So what we're going to do now is chop it up, delete certain elements of the sample we don't really want, and use the bits that we like. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go to edit and find our hotkey for split track. So we're going to split this track up. So Control E. Right, so I'm going to put my locator where I want it to split, and then I'll go Control E, and you can see if I move that now. Oops, let's go there. Okay, see I've got a little line there. What this has done is actually it's actually taken the sample and chopped it into its own little segment, and I can move that around anywhere I want. I can copy it, I can repeat it, I can do all sorts of stuff. If you make a mistake, Command Z is your friend. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually go and slice it up into segments. Just going through. And I'll delete everything else in front of that. I just want that little part. I'll move all of those samples, I'll select them and move them over to the start. Okay, back at the start. Okay, there we go. Oops, not quite there yet. And now the next thing is I can take the parts and I can reorganize them. I can repeat them. So I can create a rhythm that I can stretch it out over multiple beats. So we can actually go. So if we listen to that now. Let's have a listen. All right, so it's not very creative yet, but you get the idea. Now we can chop that up and create a really interesting soundtrack that's not going to overpower a visual element if we want to create some backing tracks. Now it's time for you to go and do the same thing. So you should have the files on a USB. Go in there and explore and experiment with that and have fun.